Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. We're out and about here. It's about 4:30 in the PM. I'm headed to meet a new friend, somebody who's watched my videos. He's over here for a couple of weeks to do an exploratory kind of mission. Check it out. Plans on retiring here, and that's always awesome to meet you guys when you come over here. I do have an email address if you are planning on coming here sometime and you do want to meet up, whether it's for a week or two or permanently. If just email me at that address, but keep in mind that that's an address I have to put in public. It's not my personal email address, it's an alternate, so I don't check it that often. But I will eventually find it and get back to you. Maybe send me an email. But anyway, I just want to remind you that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not. And come on, New Year's just around the corner. Less than a week away, only 4 days from the time I'm making this video actually. And if you want to help us celebrate and get some awesome footage and video while we're doing it, consider supporting the channel. I have links down below for PayPal and Ko-fi.com if you want to support us that way. We love our supporters. You guys make all the good stuff happen. Of course, you can always purchase one or more of my books. Those are at a link in the description as well, and that always helps. Every little bit helps, and we appreciate all the support. So thank you. You know, a lot of countries have freedom. I know usually, you know, as an American, we're really big on freedom. People will ask, well, what makes America so great? And people will go, oh, freedom, we have freedom. Well, you know, about 126 countries actually have freedom. So that's not really a big deal. But let me ask you if you think you have, how much freedom you have in your country. I want you to think about it. And just really think about it. And I'll tell you why I think in some ways, outside of the political aspects of that word, why I think you have more freedom as a foreigner here in Cambodia than you might back where you live. And I'm not saying you don't have, and I'm not saying your country is a shithole or anything. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm looking at this from where I come from, you know, in the United States, and how we always tout our freedom as if it's something special and unique that no other country has. Oh, look at these poor little doggies. And rabbits. And guinea pigs. And birds of all kinds. Oh, wow. But yeah, I'm basing that on my experience in the United States. And I think I do have more freedom here. For one, I can, as an adult man, if I want, I could have a backpack. I could fill my backpack with beer. And without having to hide it or do it on the sly, I can walk down these roads any time of the day or night, pop one open, and drink it while I'm walking. And nobody bats an eye. Nobody will say anything. You could walk past a police post and have an open beer in each hand as you're walking by. They won't even look at you twice because it's okay. As long as you're an adult, and most of these things have to do with this, as long as you're an adult, and as long as you are not causing a public disturbance or bothering anybody else, you're good to go. And I've said this before, but back in America, when you just walking down the road as an adult, especially an old guy like me, walking down the road with an open beer, even if that's the only beer I've had, minding my own business, they will give you a fine. A big fine, a hefty fine, for having an open container in public. And I ask you, my friends, is that freedom? You're legal. You're not causing a ruckus. You're not bothering anybody. You're on your way home from a friend's house. You stop at a convenience store. You pick up a beer. And if you get caught, they'll give you a fine. Run all your information. Waste your time. Make you dump it out. Yeah, at least where I come from, that's the deal. So I wouldn't really call that being free. But it's not just about the alcohol. It's like that with almost everything. I've seen foreigners here in my 7 years I've been here. I've seen foreigners here do all kinds of weird things that back home would have definitely raised some eyebrows from the public, and the police probably would have been called, because people can't seem to mind their own damn business back home sometimes. And these things are weird. These are not things I would do, because even I look at them and go, wow, you're being really weird. On the other hand, again, they're not bothering anybody. They're not harassing anybody. They're not threatening anybody. And the locals here, they just walk by these people, not even a second glance. Just, they're so used to foreigners acting weird, I think. Like, I'll give you a couple examples. I was walking down the street over where we used to live, and I turned a corner. There's a little Russian, I believe it's a Russian-owned bar, based on the language and everything. I'm pretty sure it's Russian. And there's a pretty big Russian tourism scene here, you know, expat scene too. And there was two shirtless Russian guys across the street from this place in an empty parking lot in front of a building that was closed, just by themselves. And they were just, each of them had a beer by their feet, right? And they're shirtless. And as they're talking and occasionally stopping to pick up their beer and have a drink, they were tossing a knife back and forth to each other, like grabbing it by the blade and flipping it around so the other guy can catch it by the handle. I'm like, holy crap, man. Yeah, you definitely go to jail back home for that in the United States. But again, the only people they could possibly hurt by doing this activity was themselves. They weren't threatening anybody with it, or they weren't throwing it at anybody else. They weren't, you know, they were just friendly. They were talking to each other. Just two shirtless Russian guys drinking beer and tossing a knife back and forth like it was a baseball. Yeah. But again, nobody said anything. Nobody gave them a second look, because except for me, because that was pretty odd. But it's like, who are they hurting? If they both agreed as adults to do that activity together, and one of them gets hurt, can't blame the other guy. They're adults. You're responsible for your own decisions. And I think that's pretty cool. And another thing, when I first got here, this was the first time I was aware of that you can be weird here without having it negatively impact you socially. Even something you might not go to jail for back home, if it's too weird for the norm, you'll be ostracized. But over here, it's just a weird habit you have, you know. And this happened years ago, down by the river. Again, a shirtless old white dude, gray hair, just a pair of cargo shorts and flip-flops. He had a big old-fashioned boom box, like from the 80s, and a saxophone. He was playing a song on the boom box on what I'm assuming is a cassette tape, which, if you're younger, you have no idea what that is. But, and as a song was playing, he would play along with the saxophone. And he was by himself. And it was just weird. Yeah. But he was enjoying himself. He was having a good time. Down by the river, catching what little breeze he could, listening to his favorite song, playing along on his sax. But again, I'll reiterate, back in the United States, if I went to a public park where there was heavy foot traffic and did that, some Karen or the other would get upset and try to involve the police because I'm not acting in a way that is normal, whatever that word means, for society, if you know what I mean. It's a shame, but it's true. But if you move here, you just have to get used to those things. When you go out, sometimes you'll see people doing some really, really weird things. But they're doing it to entertain themselves, or just, I don't know, maybe they have mental issues, I don't know. But they're not harassing you or anyone else, or threatening anybody, or being a public nuisance. So everybody just lets them get on their way. The police have better things to do than try to make it illegal for people to be eccentric and weird. And what's the purpose of me making this video? Because I've always been a loner. I've always been not antisocial so much as anti-people in a group. I love to talk to a person. A person is interesting. A person is reasonable. A person you can have a conversation with. But when those persons turn to people, plural, and there's many of them, then they become arrogant. They get a sheep mentality where if one person deems something untenable, then everybody just seems to follow in suit, and pretty soon somebody's ostracized because they, you know, they're a little weird, they're a little different from the group as a whole. So yeah, when I got over here, I realized at that point that you know, you can be weird over here. Weird is good. It is. It's okay. And I know there's a lot of people out there that consider themselves probably outliers, outsiders. You might have certain things you do that are outside of societal norms. And a lot of people repress that because they don't want to be considered the weird guy. But over here, you're free to indulge in all that as long as it's legal and as long as you don't harm, intimidate, harass, or threaten anyone else who's not involved in your activity. And to me, in my opinion, like I said, outside of the political definition of freedom, in my opinion, that represents what true freedom should be. Laws, any law should be made against people harming other people who aren't consenting to their activity, whether it's they're being robbed, they're being murdered, they're being harassed. But other than that, live your life, be happy. Because if the only person you can hurt is yourself, that's for you to decide, because it's your life, your body, etc., etc. Yeah. Keep in mind, this is not a political rant. This is just for all you weirdos out there. You should say it proud. Be happy about it. And if you're thinking about moving here, you can come over here and be that way without anybody messing with you about it. Because I'm sure all of us are a little weird to the locals in some way or another. You know, it might just be a cultural thing, but I'm pretty sure there are things that you accept and do in your country that are normalized to the point where everybody looks past it, but over here those things might be considered weird, and vice versa. We might consider some of the cultural things over here weird, but we just have to be able to accept the weirdness. Ooh, Anchor beer.
Hello, hello.
Hello. All right, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. Check out all my links down below. Like I said, I have PayPal, I have Ko-fi.com. Check out all the other channels, vlogging from this part of the world. Great information. Really good videos coming out. And you want to check as many out as you can if you're thinking about moving here. Get all the information you can. Hey, I'm from Siem Reap, Cambodia. I will talk to you guys in the next one.